Well, hello there. It's another day. I'm Jim Harrington.
And I am Bill Knight. Happy day before election hell day. I say that because, you know, it's funny because the media is catching on. Like SNL, they basically, they caught on to all the phony claims of Aunt Mandani and did a hit piece on him. And the people are starting to say this guy is not cracked up to be what he is, you know?
Yeah, it's too little too late.
I think so. But, you know, and the poll numbers say different. However, even he said, well, we got to go out and win the elections because the polls, you know, even he says the polls don't mean anything. And I'm like going, well, you're right about that, bud, because Trump defied the polls.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, are we seeing a false number there, a made-up number, because that is the only agenda that they can project?
Hey, for our New York listeners,
good luck.
Yeah, I feel bad for you, but I want you to listen to this next audio piece. We played it on Saturday, but it's important for you to hear it again. This is what the guy stands for.
So let's talk through these policy points. Freezing the rent for more than 2 million rent-stabilized tenants does not require money from the city. It is a determination made that landlords cannot increase the rent for those about 1 million apartments. That's something the city has done before. Making buses free costs around $700 million. Providing universal child care costs about $6 billion. These are significant amounts of money. They have to be understood in the context of a $116 billion city budget, a state budget of more than $252 billion. The money that we would raise to fund this agenda is in two parts. The first is by increasing the state's top corporate tax rate to match that of New Jersey. That would raise $5 billion. This would only impact the most profitable corporations, ones that are making millions of dollars in profits. The second is to increase...
And I'm sorry,
please.
You're sure they're not going to leave it? Y esas compañías no se van a ir de Nueva York. They're not going to leave New York.
So the way that this tax works is it applies to any business doing business here. They could be located in Miami, but if they're doing business in New York, it applies to them. And the reason I believe everyone will keep doing business here is our economy is so large that if it was a country, it would rival the top countries in the world. The second is personal income taxes. I think that the top 1% of New Yorkers who make $1 million or more a year should pay 2% more in personal income taxes. That would raise $4 billion. These are the two major revenue points. But as you've also said, I want to make sure that every dollar we have today is also a dollar that we are spending in the fullest way possible. And what I mean by that is today I'll look at our Department of Education. It's the agency where we spend the most amount of money of any department in City Hall. And what we find is that we're spending $10 billion a year on contracts. There is money that can be saved in the way in which we spend on those contracts, the way in which we procure those contracts, the standardization or lack thereof. We have to make sure, as you said, that every dollar is going to the benefit of the classroom, the kids in the classroom, the teachers who are teaching them.
This guy's a snake oil salesman. Let me tell you what I heard over the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
25% of the population of New York is looking to get out. Now, that's what, 16 million people? So what's that, 4.5 million people want to leave? 4 million plus want out. And he says, well, you know, our economy is so big that we're like a small country. They can't do without us. Yes, they can.
Yes, you can. I can tell you one thing, and see, a lot of people don't. If you run a business, chances are, okay, you sell tires. And you're in Boise, Idaho, but you ship tires to Montgomery, Alabama, to Tulsa, Oklahoma, to New York City, New York. Somebody, I got them online. I got a set of tires that I would have paid at the, the regular store here for shipping and everything, and them to warehouse them, $800 for a set. But I got them for $398 in an internet discount. Well, that's how it works.
There's a
but now you're
city,
doing commerce there.
There's a city in Connecticut, Stamford. It's about 45 minutes east of New York. It's not very far. It's already becoming a corporate mini New York, meaning a lot of companies that were based in New York have moved their corporate headquarters out to Stamford. And I'd be willing to bet you dollars to donuts a lot of those same people in New York, they'll be moving their businesses out to Stamford and Norwalk and Darien and all those other towns, Stratford, Milford. It's Connecticut, and yes, it's still Democratic, but it's not communist, and there is a difference. Even President Trump said, well, would you rather have a Democrat or Mandani? He said, well, I don't want a communist, so and I'm not crazy about a Democrat, but the Democrat push came to shove is better than the communist.
Right. And that's what's going to happen. And even in Connecticut, they're going to have to cut ties with New York.
Yeah.
You want that guy? You got him. Bye-bye. It was nice knowing you. No more vacationing there. You're not going to go to New York City and think of all the pretty lights and all your holiday shopping. That's going to be gone before he even – see, if he wins tomorrow, when does he officially step into office?
I think in January. I think he's sworn in January. I could be wrong. Maybe they have a different procedure in New York.
See, that's what I thought too, but if you know it's coming, he's going to right away start, flexing his muscles.
Yeah. Well, that's
and he
great.
Talks well, but it's
Scott Jennings from CNN. He talked about Mandani's qualifications.
In this particular case, I think he was making 2 points, actually. One is, if you did, God forbid, have a massive emergency like that, would you really want someone in the mayor's seat who has never had a job, never run anything, certainly never run anything at this level?
Yeah.
And that's been his entire argument, number one. Number two, it is true that Mamdani was taking a picture with an unindicted co-conspirator from the World Trade Center bombing the other day and called him a pillar of the community. Cuomo didn't make him take that picture. Mamdani took that picture and seems to be pretty proud of it. That's a legitimate thing to debate, but I think in this case of the radio show, the core issue was Mamdani literally has no experience. And if you had a 9/11 scale event, would you want somebody who can't prove that they can do anything in the chair? Legit.
Is it fair to say that he would cheer on 9/11?
He's taking pictures with unindicted co-conspirator from the World Trade Center bombing.
Are you willing to say that? You really think that he would cheer on 9/11?
He's taking pictures with unindicted co-conspirators from the World.
That's Abby Phillip from CNN, and I'm sorry,
Right.
she's a space cadet. I mean, how many times does he have to say it? Go ahead.
He's guilty by association. By him taking the picture, it's an endorsement of it.
Right. I mean, show me your friends, I'll tell you what you are.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. That is like the guy from Maine who had a German insignia on his chest tattooed. That is Mandani's. That's one of his many tattoos.
It's true.
And he's got a coat of many colors, and none of them happen to be good colors. Let's put it that way.
I truly envision New York. If you think New York is tough now, get a guy in there who is like Mandani, Manchurian candidate of sorts, a guy who really doesn't have our best interest in mind. He's not there for us. He's been asked, do you believe in this, this, and this, all these patriotic things, and he's never really given a good answer. He's always kind of stepped away from having to definitively back something, like the Constitution. He is not the guy that a lot of people think he is. I look at some of these well-meaning, mostly young people in New York, a lot of them who were not alive during 9/11, who have no point of reference. These are people who don't realize just what 9/11 was to this country. It was a major attack. And by the way, Bill, which probably leads me into something I wanted to talk about before, and it's something which I think that we're not paying any attention to at all right now. Maybe President Trump is with his posturing in Venezuela and stuff like that, but I think that right now in our country there is already a strong, organized faction of terrorist groups, and I think they're getting ready to do something bad right here.
Well, there was rumor before Charlie Kirk's assassination that something was going to happen, even to him, possibly. But nothing came to fruition, and then we kind of said, and then boom, it happened.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because Scott Bessent, who is one of the cabinet members, I think he's Treasury Secretary of President Trump, was asked about this on the Charlie Kirk show. This is after Charlie Kirk was murdered. And I want you to hear what he said. There's also a clip in this cut from Stephen Miller, and you'll be interested in hearing what he said.
I want to play a clip here that's really important because you're working on a very important piece of this, and I wish we had more time for this. So let's just get right into it. 1:36.
Let me tell you something I'd not share with anybody, but the last message that Charlie Kirk gave to me before he joined his creator in heaven was he said that we have to dismantle and take on the radical left organizations in this country that are fomenting violence. That was the last message that he sent me before that assassin stole him from all of us.
So that is a powerful clip. Stephen Miller said something similar when JD hosted the show on the Monday after he was assassinated. And Treasury, I come to find out, coming to D.C., that Treasury has taken an active role in an aspect of this dismantling of the financial networks that are supporting some of these radical left violent groups. Share with what you can. I know it's an ongoing process.
So it's an ongoing process, and I will tell you that after 9/11, Treasury became the driving force behind tracking down the networks of terrorist organizations, how they were financed, how could this have happened on U.S. soil with these international terrorist organizations. Where did the money come from? Who were the ultimate funders? And that was on the international side. And Andrew, I will tell you that Charlie's death is like a domestic 9/11. That we are going to find, it has alerted us to what Charlie knew, that these organizations are working within our borders. And look, we believe people have a right to free speech. They have a right to organize. They have a right to protest, but they have to do it peacefully. They cannot embrace violence, and we have seen it. We've seen it since the terrible day 2 years ago, the anti-Semitism and the bias that came out after October 7th, 2023. And many of these organizations have been financed by nonprofits, and it's going to stop. And we are going to, as they always say, follow the money. When you see these groups where all the signs match, they have hundreds of the same umbrellas that they're using. After they cause the mayhem, they have the same lasers that they're using to blind our police force. How are they constructed? Because this takes a lot of money. It takes a lot of organization, and we are going to do that. We have started to compile lists, put together networks, and there's a long record here, and we don't know how much of the support's coming in from overseas. We don't know how much being supported by U.S. nonprofits, C3s that give money to C4s, but this is mission critical for us now, just as after 9/11 and Osama bin Laden, the ultimate culprit, was captured. We are operationalizing this here at Treasury, and we are going to track down who is responsible for this. So Charlie's death has set this off, and we are determined. We're determined not only to honor him, but to keep our country safe and to ensure freedom of speech on both sides. That we can't, as conservatives, we can't be afraid to go out and speak. I know people are canceling speeches. They're having to bring down the size of the rallies. President Trump was millimeters away from death, and he was not deterred, and we're not going to be deterred.
God bless.
Okay, so that's Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary.
Right.
And the problem I have is that there's a large faction, I believe, in our country of deniers, people who, they're good people. They're our neighbors, many of them, but they don't believe this. They don't believe that they are vulnerable. They don't believe that this could happen to them. They go about their lives thinking that, well, I live in the U.S. and That happens overseas and some faraway country. It really can't happen here. And they've forgotten already about 9/11. I mean, I don't mean that they've forgotten it totally, but they've forgotten the trauma that we all experienced on 9/11. Do you know? And so we're now in a situation where, let's say, at least 40% of the country is walking around thinking everything's great. How are they going to react when these organized bands of terrorists, who I think are already here, Biden allowed them to march right into our country?
And why did he do that? That's the question.
And he did it intentionally, Bill.
Yeah. Why?
Well, there's the belief by a lot of people that they want a divided country in turmoil. Better a divided country in turmoil than one that's united under Trump.
I look at people and I read faces, because your soul and your expressions tell a lot about you. And I'm sitting there going, with the government shutdown and the Democrats wanting to do certain things and get money for the illegals, but with what's going on, and this is Schumer's shutdown, and I'm looking at Schumer and the expressions on his face now versus 15, 20 years ago. All right. And there's a problem right there. He's been in office that long. Term limits are a part of the problem, and we need to answer that. But I'm looking at him now, and I'm seeing in this face a guy that knows that his day is done and he's spoiled. If I can't have it, nobody can have it, and I'm going to burn down the joint and ruin it. So you want it? There you go.
I have a slightly different interpretation. I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
But I think that he's also, at this point in his career, and with Trump in office, I think he's afraid that he's about to be exposed for the corrupt guy he really is. And he would prefer turmoil, upheaval. He'd like to see he'd rather bring the government down than to be embarrassed.
Yeah,
for the criminal he is.
But there are a lot of criminals out there. And let's just say they're on both sides. So who's at the top of the list? Who's at the bottom list of the list? How long did the Nuremberg trials last to get to everybody?
About a year and a half.
Yeah. Okay. So let's say we start. I think we would go longer than a year and a half.
I think they were still doing it in 47, the war engine in 45, so maybe 2 years.
I think, though, that we've got there's so much corruption, that it will go on for years. I don't see how you can get all the players and get it done and wrapped up. But it's deep, is what I'm saying. So
yeah, out of just a little thing, 11 months, Bill, 11 months. It went from November 20th, 45 to October 1st of 46, 11 months.
The corruption in this government, and to get the players, well, some are long gone, but the people like Schumer and Pelosi and whatnot, it's going to take a while to get them all. Where do you start?
They had subsequent trials that went on until 49. So, we're not off when we said 2 years. Maybe, they had the main trial and then some, I guess, minor players. But the thing about the Nuremberg trials is they were military tribunals. They didn't screw around. And there's a difference between this civilian courts and military tribunals. In military tribunals, they cut to the chase. Let's just put it that way. You're being guarded by the military, and you're being sentenced by the military, and many times their punishment is a little bit more stern than a civilian.
Yeah. And there's going to be sympathetic judges as the trials go on. Forget that, we're going to drop all those. And then another judge comes in and goes, oh, no, you're not. But it would go on for a long time. The guy is, I don't know how old he is, but he doesn't have that. There's a lot less road in front of him than there is behind him. And by the time that they ever got to any kind of justice, he'll probably die of natural causes. So he would rather just burn it down.
He's 74, Bill.
He's 74?
Yeah.
Boy, he looks a lot older and a lot I'm sorry, but
He's had a lot of I think face work and stuff like that, hair transplants, things like that. He's had maintenance done, you know.
he doesn't look that healthy. And I'm just saying, but I think he's got a burn it down attitude.
Well,
Yeah.
getting back to where I'm afraid, and the reason why I even bring this up right now, by the way, is I think we're close to something happening around the holidays, and I don't know
I'm
whether.
surprised it hasn't happened yet.
Well, yeah, I know, but I mean, I think that they're going to do something that's going to be violent. They're going to have a backup plan in case one plan gets uncovered and stopped. I believe that they are going to do things in this country that we've never seen before, because that's how ISIS works. They don't just, do something and then that's it. I mean, look at 9/11. They had 3 planes. They figured, hey, if they take one of our or 2 of our planes down, we still got a third. They didn't figure, I don't think, that all 3 would make it, and one didn't make it. One went down in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, in the rural.
That was the one destined for the White House.
That's the one that was aimed at. They say at the White House. It could have been the Capitol too, but yeah, it was aimed for Washington. We know that, and I mean, are we prepared right now, Bill, for something like that to happen again? No.
No, not at all.
I mean, holidays. Think about this. We have a shutdown right now. All the airlines are all screwed up. They have. I heard one airline has 80% of its pilots on showing up for work. They had to cancel a ton of their airplanes because they're not being paid. I mean, you don't do it for the heck of it.
Well, let me ask you a question. I mean, you got bills to pay and whatnot. You're a pilot. You're not being paid. Would you go into work or say, you know what, until they get this resolved, I'm sitting it out?
I can go get a job working for a charter or some other airline that'll pay me for at least on an interim basis, or I'll go get a job at McDonald's. I mean, some of these guys, they know they have to meet commitments, and the Democrats know it. The Democrats know that they're hurting people. I remind you by playing this.
I mean, shutdowns are terrible. And of course, there will be, families that are going to suffer. We take that responsibility very seriously. But it is one of the few leveraged times we have.
They take it very seriously, but not seriously enough to stop it.
Right.
So, but getting back to it, now, if you were a terrorist and you came into this country illegally and you have a group of people like yourself, like-minded terrorists in the country, and you've been organizing and planning, when would you want to attack? You would want to attack when the country is confused and in disarray. Like now. Like it is now. When I say confused and in disarray, we're not paying people. Our families are suffering. There's the SNAP benefits that have stopped. Do you think? Go ahead.
Well, no, you were going to ask, do you think? Before
do you think that these people aren't thinking on a day-to-day basis? Their one function in this country, these terrorists, is to attack us.
Right, and we have certain little idiosyncrasies that make us vulnerable. Case in point, December 7th, 1941. It was a Sunday,
Yeah.
People are off, doing what they do, going to church, and we even had radar. It was new then, and there were guys there. But they didn't know and trust it, and they called it in, and don't worry about it, probably a glitch, something like that.
Just a bunch of our training planes coming in from San Francisco.
Yeah, you know what, just do your thing, go to church, go get some, take your lady out for a soda, something like that. It's a day of rest for us, it was for us at that time, And we got Pat.
And
got
what
caught
did
with
people
our
do back
proverbial
then?
pants down.
What did people do back then? They were out and about, maybe with their girlfriends, out for a drive. The family was out, maybe having a family dinner. Everybody was kind of together in a relaxed environment, like Bill said, enjoying their Sunday.
Nobody would ever think to do anything to us on our Sunday. That would be sacrilegious. Well, number one, they don't share our beliefs. That's number one. Number two, you should see that history over time, they look for gatherings. Look at the young kids that were going to the concert just a few months ago, and they, they came over and started attacking these kids and killed a lot of kids. It was all in the news for a while.
What did they just catch up in Michigan? In Michigan, the day, I think, before Halloween, they stopped an ISIS attack. ISIS. Think about it for a second. Now, does ISIS always have just one group working, or do they have backups?
They have backups. They were going to do a Halloween massacre, and it was thwarted because, fortunately, there was enough evidence out there that, they could go and stop this thing. But with Thanksgiving coming up, holiday travel, and we already know the skies aren't safe. The roads aren't safe because we've got, I don't even like to use the term illegals. Not that they're not illegals and shouldn't be, but we have let people and given them licenses to drive big rolling bombs, essentially, on the highway. So your travel is not safe.
Hey, what if you fill up some of those trucks with explosives and drive them into the center of towns?
All right. You talk about air traffic control. You talk about highway patrol. What one thing happened several times besides planes going down and shippings wrecking in the harbor and hitting bridges? We had trains with boxcars full of chemicals that roll through every town in the USA.
Might I remind you of East Palestine, Ohio?
Yes.
A year and a half ago.
Disasters are...
Do we still know to this day how that really happened? No, we don't. We do not. They've kind of let it go by the wayside. Could that have been a test? I don't know.
I don't know. Bring Pete Buttigieg in because he was ahead of all of that. And I heard that there was bad maintenance that, just didn't happen. Government's involved in a lot of that thing. Just like I sit there and I look at our roads, our highways, our local. I see a sign for a guy running re-election, and his campaign slogan is results driven. And I'm sitting there going, oh, well, that explains why we got potholes that are 20 years old. You've been in for 2 terms. You haven't done a damn thing. That's results. Now, we're not taking care of certain things that we have to take care of. And that's kind of a diversion here, but I'm just saying we are ripe for the pickings coming up with holiday travel, the holidays, gathering places. We're going to be out doing festive things, and that's where they're going to hit.
Hey, speaking of we have to do things, we have to pause for the cause right now. Remind people to like and share our show, like and share the program also. If you have something you want to pass along to us, you can contact us at mail@jimandbill.com.
Wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee.
Available at rightsideshop.com. Yeah, I don't think we get the truth, by the way, from our government. I think in some cases it's well-meaning. They don't want to upset us as a population. But I think we're at a point right now, thanks to social media, where we're in such contact with so many different things. It's better for the government to tell us the truth about stuff than try to hide it, because we always seem to find out.
We do, but I think there's a lot of stuff shielded, dare I say. Trump is shielded of a lot of things that he needs to know. I think Roseanne Barr asked the question, are there demons in the world? They're bad players. Maybe they're possessed or maybe they have an alternate thing, but you've got bad players in the White House that have been there, that have been instilled in there. And if the Democrats win the House again, or down in a few years, they go back to their agenda. But if that president isn't doing what they want him to do, Democrat or Republican, ask Kennedy, all of a sudden something nefarious happens to him. Trump, they're trying to trip him up all the time because he doesn't get all the information. Everything that he does and he gets, he's got it from his own team.
You mentioned Kennedy. I saw a interesting video on. We always think that the Zapruder film was the end all when it comes to showing us what happened, because it was supposedly shot by Zapruder from the grassy knoll, looking at the car passing by just as President Kennedy got shot. But photographic experts have examined that film and have come to the conclusion that at some point very early on, when they found it, that it was doctored. It was tampered with. They think it was done the day after in a photo lab in New York. They think it was done by the government. Zapruder had just sold his rights to the film to Life magazine for 10 years, for stills, mind you, not for video, for stills. And they had a copy of it. And I guess somewhere along the line, from him getting the film to Life magazine, there was an interim stop with the government, and it was messed with. You have to ask yourself, how long have we been duped by these people who are in power? And you mentioned President Trump being duped, and I do believe that even right now, they're not being upfront with President Trump about everything. He's supposed to be the commander-in-chief and get all the information. Everything should be on his desk. But the fact of the matter is, I think there are people, nefarious people in government, who keep stuff away from him intentionally.
Yeah. You've got lawfare going on, too, interpretations of the Constitution, what the intent of the government is, and you got lawyers involved. And lawyers, they take an oath, but, when they take it from their position. And if they win a case, that now ruling is there as an example of law. And we've got a failed system, is what I'm trying to tell you. It can be manipulated, and it is. And these judges and attorneys, no matter what Trump tries to do that he was elected to do, there's somebody there to run interference and go, oh, you can't do that, it's against the law. Well, what law? And the one I'm just not ruling on. It's
I know this guy Boasberg, by the way, in D.C.
He
apparently
should be going to prison.
Well, there's a push to get him disbarred and possibly put in jail. Which apparently this guy is an operative, one of those deep state operatives. I mean, he's more political than judicial. President Trump was on TV last night. Did you see it? He was on 60 Minutes. And I don't know why he does it. Now, they have a new head of CBS News, and she is supposedly much fairer. And plus, Trump won a big case against 60 Minutes for, $16 million?
Right.
So he probably figures they know that if they screw with him, he's going to do it again. So he goes on 60 Minutes yesterday, and it was a slightly better piece, but they can't help themselves. Nora O'Donnell, she just cannot help. She cannot help herself. I mean, this is a chance to nail Trump in front of all of her friends. And so, the interview was better than the first one where he had to sue them, but they still tried to make him look stupid in different parts. One point they were talking about Taiwan, and Trump, I guess, has said that he's going to support Taiwan. He's an ally of Taiwan. Listen.
Did you order U.S. forces to defend Taiwan?
You'll find out if it happens.
understands the answer to that.
Why not say
This
it?
never even came up yesterday as a subject. He never brought it up. People were a little surprised at that. He never brought it up because he understands it, and he understands it very well.
Do you mind if I ask, when you say he understands, why not communicate that publicly to the rest of us? What does he understand?
I can't give away my secrets. I don't want to be one of these guys that tells you exactly what's going to happen if something happens. The other side knows, but I'm not somebody that tells you everything because you're asking me a question, but they understand what's going to happen, and he has openly said, and his people have openly said at meetings, we would never do anything while President Trump is president.
I mean, it's interesting. Norah O'Donnell is like, well, why can't you just tell the public what you're going to do? Maybe it's because it's a top secret plan. Maybe it's because we don't tell the media our secrets just because you ask us.
Well, maybe it's because you don't want the other side to know what you're going to do so that they can't be prepared for it. I mean,
exactly. I mean, she looked put out, by the way, when I was watching the program. She looked kind of put off that he was not giving her that information. She also asked him about, Comey and the people who are being indicted, and she said, is that some form of payback or retribution,
James Comey, John Bolton, Letitia James were all recently indicted. There's a pattern to these names. They're all public figures who have publicly denounced you. Is it political retribution?
You know what? You know who got indicted? The man you're looking at. I got indicted, and I was innocent. And here I am because I was able to beat all of the nonsense that was thrown at me. And yet, when you go after a dirty cop like Comey or a guy like Bolton, who I hear I don't know anything about it. I hear he took records all over the place. Who knows? Letitia James is a terrible, dishonest person, in my opinion.
Did you instruct the Department of Justice to go after
Not in any way, shape, or form. No, you don't have to instruct them because they were so dirty, they were so crooked, they were so corrupt that the honest people we have, Pam Bondi's doing a very good job.
When he continued by saying, you don't have to tell good people to do the right thing, but the fact is, she went on and did some, what they do now is they'll take a news clip of something he said at a press conference that maybe implies that he contradicted himself. And they did that last night on 60 Minutes a couple of times just to zing him.
They do it all the time.
Yeah, they're not honest. They are not honest. And I don't know why. I think he probably feels you have to go into the den against your enemies. You have to go in, and you just can't go on all of the programs that are favorable to you. You have to go in and talk to the enemy, too. There's a whole audience out there of people who may not see you because they don't watch Fox or Newsmax.
Right.
And so you got to go on 60 Minutes. They still have a large audience, and you still have to present your case. I don't know how he does it. I do not know how the guy does it. He constantly has to prove to these people over and over again that he's doing the job. And what amazes me is these are the same people, I'm sure, who think that Kamala would have been a better president to this day. I mean, this lady who gets lost in a sentence would be a better. Could you imagine her trying to resolve a war, never mind 8 of 9 wars? Kamala? I mean, holy smokes. You would have a problem that she couldn't fix a ticket. All right? But yet, there are people out there who think she would have been a great president. And by the way, I think in many cases, those are the same people who are unprepared for us being attacked internally by any terrorist organization.
Could you imagine if she would have won the presidency? The borders would be open. We would be flooded now. But then again, probably, she would have stepped in and with the House divide and everything, that she would have sat there and done something to wave a wand to make sure that they had that funding for the $1.5 trillion to get extra money.
Healthcare.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. The Dems would have gotten all the candy they want. Every day is Halloween for them.
Yeah.
And by the way, this is not the Democratic Party I used to be a member of. I was a member up until 1980. because the old school Dems were rock solid American. This Democratic Party, just look at AOC, look at what's her name out in Minnesota? I can't think of it. Ilhan Omar. Look at Mandani in New York. Heck, everyone says he's not a socialist. He's a communist.
So is AOC, so is Sanders, so is Omar. And, you look at all these people, and if you take a good look at what Omar has pledged her allegiance to Somalia. The guy that's running in Illinois, is it what state that he's running?
Is it Michigan, Bill? I'm not sure. I know who you're talking about. Guy who's running for mayor. Maybe it's in Minnesota. I don't know.
Yeah, he looks like a zombie from Beetlejuice or something, like he could have been one of the prop players, with the shrunken head. Put a string on him, and there you go. But either in
a zombie from Beetlejuice.
I'm sorry, he does. Look
I
at
immediately got it. Go ahead.
And he sits there, and he's pledging his allegiance to Somalia, waving the flag. That right there disqualifies him from being able to run for office. And how we let these people run, that's the Democratic Party there. How you let them run, it really befuddles me. And how stupid people elect them, that more than befuddles me. And I'm sitting there going, unless, we're being overthrown and taken over, and they're doing it right before our eyes, and we are too stupid to stop it.
Well, I think there's a faction that I don't know whether we call them stupid or just naive. Oh, they give an example. Over the weekend, there was a raid. I believe it was in Michigan. I'll have to check on the location, but it was an ICE raid. And they arrested a guy who had a red note on him, meaning he wasn't just an illegal, he was a terrorist on the terror wanted list. He was somebody who was a big deal, and he was living, by the way, in a very affluent part of town. I'm talking about a suburb that looked high-end, a nice house. There were other guys living there. They were living right under our nose in a beautiful place, a beautiful location. And the person who was taking the video, the woman, she was so damn naive. Obviously, somebody from the left, because she kept making stupid remarks about something which was, dare I say, very dangerous. If this guy was a guy who was on the wanted list, and somebody who could have, wreaked havoc in our world, I'm sure they were putting their lives at risk by doing this, but she was making fun of them. The Department of Homeland Security, working hand in hand with U.S. Immigration and Custom Enforcement and U.S. Border Patrol, launched Operation Midway Blitz in Chicago, resulting in hundreds of arrests of illegal aliens, including at least one Polish national with an Interpol red notice for organized crime and drug trafficking in his home country. That's a big deal. A red notice from Interpol. That means he's not just wanted in Poland, he's wanted around the world. Be on the lookout for. And it says, despite the seriousness of the arrest, Chicago Tribune reporter Jason Meisner attempted to downplay the operation, mocking the agents on X. Here's what he wrote. Meisner, Border Patrol Commander Greg Bovino, leading the charge against an invading platoon of landscapers in Wilmette on Halloween today. One thing we can all agree on, that block looks like hell on earth. It was a very high-end, ritzy, affluent suburb. Everything looked manicured. He was having fun. This is a guy who's supposed to be a Tribune reporter, neutral, down the middle, and he's posting that kind of crap on X. You have to really be careful what you read and what you listen to, because so much of it is jaded and not what it's supposed to be. Hey, a reminder, like and share the show if you would. Like and share our program. Also, if you want to contact us, mail@jimandbill.com, mail@jimandbill.com.
Wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee.
Available at rightsideshop.com. We talked about this over the weekend, Bill. You see where Trump officials are moving into military bases over assassination fears?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's so much going on right now that they're moving cabinet members to military bases. That's a big deal. I know that if I were a cabinet member and they said to me, hey, Jim, you got to move your family to a military base, what do you do with your house? You know, do you pack up everything? Do they come by with trucks and move everything to your new home? What happens? I mean, this is the kind of turmoil that these people have to deal with just to be public servants in the world we live in today. I mean,
I don't know. But you know, I worry about the safety and you know of our elected leaders, and that's Democrat and Republican alike. You know, or Republican and Democrat alike, because we put them there. We put them there to do a job. Some are not doing their job. Some have agendas. But it seems that one side is a fan club for the terror. Yeah, I'm just saying it's kind of,
See where
it's
Elon Musk says that he was on Joe Rogan's show.
Yeah,
and they were talking about. Well, he dropped a political bombshell during a 3-hour interview with Rogan. Rogan really likes to sit down and talk to people, doesn't he? For 3 hours. And during the interview, Musk revealed how blue states like California and New York are propped up by billions of fraudulent federal handouts disguised as Medicaid for illegals. So apparently they're submitting fraudulent claims of sort. And here's how it went.
That's what was happening. They were also giving out like debit cards with $10,000. So it's not just about medical care. Yeah. The Democrats mention the medical care because they're trying to prey on people's empathy as much as possible, and then they imagine, oh wow, somebody has a desperately needed medical procedure, and shouldn't we maybe take care of them in that regard? But what they do is they divert the Medicaid funds and turn it into a slush fund for the states that goes well beyond emergency medical care. And New York and California would be bankrupt without the massive fraudulent federal payments that go to those states to pay for illegals, to create a massive financial incentive for illegals.
How would they be bankrupt because of that?
They wouldn't be able to balance their state budgets, and they can't issue currency like the Federal Reserve can.
And so their ability to balance budget is dependent upon illegals getting funding?
The scam level here is so staggering. So there are hundreds of billions of dollars of transfer payments from the federal government to the states. Those transfer payments, the states self-report what those transfer payment numbers should be. So California and New York and Illinois lie like crazy. And say that these are all legitimate payments. Well, these days, I think they're even admitting that they literally want hundreds of billions of dollars for illegals. But for a while there, they're trying to deny it. So you get these transfer payments for every government program you can possibly think of. And these are self-reported by the state, and at least historically, there was no enforcement of California, New York, Illinois, and other states when they would lie. There was no actual enforcement to say like, hey, you're lying. These payments are fraudulent. Now under the Trump administration, the Trump administration does not want to send hundreds of billions of dollars of fraudulent payments to the states. And the reason you have the standoff is because if the hundreds of billions of dollars to create a financial incentive to have this giant magnet to attract illegals from every part of Earth to to these states, if that is turned off, the illegals will leave because they're no longer being paid to come to the United States and stay here.
Wow.
And then they will lose a lot of voters. The Democratic Party will lose a lot of voters.
And they would have a very difficult job if this is kicked out of reintroducing it into a new bill.
Yes.
Especially once things start normalizing.
Yes. So, like, in a nutshell, the Democratic Party wants to destroy democracy by importing voters. And the Republican Party disagrees with that.
And the ruse is that if you don't accept what they're doing, then you're a threat to democracy.
Yes.
As they try to destroy democracy.
Yes.
By importing voters.
That is literally what they're doing.
People to only vote for them and overwhelming the system.
Yes. And by the way, it's a strategy that, if allowed to work, would work. And in fact, has worked. California is supermajority Democrat.
Yeah.
And there's so much gerrymandering that occurs. It's crazy.
You know, it's interesting. When the Democrats are running the federal government, they do the same thing, except we have the machine that cranks out new money. And the states don't have that. And what he's saying is that if they didn't submit these fraudulent claims to get essentially the illegal funding into the states, they literally would go bankrupt.
So what is this money machine that we have? I have a point, but what is the money machine that we have that cranks it out?
Well, the Federal Reserve, Bill.
Yeah. And what backs up that money?
The good faith of the U.S. government. It says it on the dollar bill.
Yeah, and the good faith. And so that explains the illegal aliens, because I think people have finally figured out, smart people, that money is a construct to corral and control, and what we dance and march to money. But I think if you realize,
the difference between the Democrats and the Republicans are, the Republicans know that the more money you put into circulation, the less the value of that money.
Right.
But the Democrats have no problem. Oh, what the hell? It's not our problem. It'll be our kids' problem. We'll just keep cranking it up.
On.
Yes.
So what they want to do is they want to find new dumb people to lead around with the carrot.
Well, and they if you can't get them in this country, you bring them in.
Right. We're importing, obviously we're importing voters who don't understand that this money is manufactured. It has got no,
intrinsic solid value.
Yes. There is no value to it. As Ronald Reagan once said, it's backed up by the might of America, which, we were talking about things before the show. We're not going to get into it now, but there are things out there that say that, we've got stuff that has been around for a while that we don't use, because I think, I don't think. There are people that are in control, and if they control this construct, this economy, this false sense here that's done globally, then all of a sudden they're in power and they live nice. They have all the accoutrements, as you like to say, of life. They live nice while we sit there and chase that carrot.
So, we have a situation where can it ever get better? Can we ever fix our system? I don't know, because I think if you look at let's look back at 2020.
Mm-hmm.
If you had said to a lot of people, look, we're going to take a guy who is cognitively impaired. Everybody in D.C. knows it. But he still has a great reputation because he's been around forever. And we're going to make him the presidential candidate. And initially, when he starts to run, he can't get anybody to pay attention to him. And even though he had been the vice president of the United States at one time. But nobody's paying attention to him. He was doing bus tours in New Hampshire to a half-filled crowd. And then somewhere along the line, probably in a dark room in D.C., some people got together and figured, we're going to have to do something to make this guy succeed. Why do we want this guy to succeed and not some other Democrat? Because this guy can be manipulated. This guy can be controlled. His lifelong dream is to be president, even though right now he may not know why he wants that dream to be fulfilled, because he's cognitively impaired. All right? And we're going to make him president, and then he's going to step back, and we're going to pull all the strings. We're going to get that machine to print those names, the auto pen, and we're going to crank out those executive orders and all of those pardons. We're going to change the entire process. And by the way, we're going to make him president because we're going to use a lot of unorthodox, dare I say, illegal means to do it. Mail-in ballots delivered to checkpoints where they're not being monitored. And we're going to have people who are working on our side in the polling places in certain key areas. We're going to do some stuff that may be a little shady, but we're going to get our guy in one way or the other. And, you know, folks, it worked. It worked. Now, you may say, well, that was the first time. No, it probably worked in 1962 when Kennedy was running. If Kennedy didn't get supposedly the mob in Chicago to back him up, he probably wouldn't have won Illinois and he would have lost to Nixon. But a lot of people don't realize that. They look at Kennedy and think, oh, Camelot, oh, he's... No, he almost lost the election to Nixon. You know, they did little things even back then. They had that was the first TV presidential debate. Nixon was sick, physically sick.
Yeah, he was sweating. He had the flu, I think.
Do you think they went over and mopped his brow?
No, they focused on the sweat, like he was sweating under the lights, that he had something to hide. And then, you know, here's Kennedy, good-looking guy, hell well coiffed, you know, looking good on camera. And, you know, in the past,
by the way,
never really...
the lights back then, Bill,
were
hot.
They were.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, you got a 600-watt Klieg light sitting in front of you, you know, or a 1,200 one. You know, and you can turn those things up, the little rheostat on them, you know. Soften the light might have been a good thing for Nixon, but they didn't do that. Let's crank up the sweat. But you know, the point is, he almost beat him without the help that Kennedy got. And I'm not downplaying Kennedy because he, you know, he wasn't exactly their lackey, you know, and it got him killed.
Well, let me tell you something. Joe Kennedy, the father, made a deal with the devil in Chicago.
Yes, he did.
Sam Giancana and company. They got him the votes. He won Illinois. And they thought they had a powerful friend in the White House. And Kennedy turned around, put his brother as attorney general, and they started to go after the mafia, the gangsters, Chicago. And a lot of people... and there's a lot of very solid investigations that have taken place over the course of the years. They believe that it was the Chicago mob that did President Kennedy in.
That's what my dad always told me. And, you know, the Kennedy, the wealth came from illegal booze.
Oh, sure. They were rum runners.
Yes.
Bootleggers.
So,
yep.
And but that is, think about that. They were ill, you know, they broke the law. They were rum runners. They were bringing in hooch, and that is America's royal family.
Yeah. Oh yes. Yeah. They.
And I'm not laughing at John, because I think, you know, he was trying to do good things. He was a war hero,
but he wasn't what he presented himself to be.
No, he wasn't.
He
but
presented
then when he
himself
tried to do something,
he presented himself as a good family man, a loving husband, a dear father.
Yeah,
and the guy he was chasing every skirt in the White House.
He couldn't keep it in his.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, he couldn't keep it in his pants ever. So, you know, well, you know, Clinton had that problem too. You know, and I'm a good friend of mine who ran for a couple of elections. I ran one of his, even though he's Democrat and I'm Republican, and you know, I was kind of proud of it, because, you know, they came back and they said in Pittsburgh, they said it's one of the dirtiest campaigns we ever saw, and everyone said, hey, they're talking about you. You did that. And I'm going, yeah, I did. But the point is, well, either way, he got in, but then he tried to do some good things, and it got him killed.
Well, he is, the Kennedys, look at, they, like you said, they are our Camelot. They were our royalty. But it was not.
No.
It was not what it was. They were not what they presented themselves to be. But they had the backing of the media and the press, and they've had it for years. I mean, I think I think Joe Kennedy at one point owned part of RKO Pictures. They had a lot of influence with the media even back then.
Yeah, and boy, I'll tell you what, RKO and General Tire, there was a lot of hanky-panky stuff there that cost them the radio company, essentially.
Well, we could go on, but it is going to be an interesting week. Tomorrow, unfortunately, I'm afraid our first communist mayor will be elected in New York.
So how do you think it's going to go down? Because they're saying there are a lot of elections in New Jersey. There's the lady that should be losing. Apparently, she's going to win. They're saying the Democrats will have a good turnout tomorrow.
I don't know. I think Trump is. If I were Trump, I wouldn't announce this. I would just have ICE agents at every polling place in New York. And if you're an illegal, you're going to be risking your independence by going to vote illegally.
I have a funny feeling they're going to say, "Oh, they mailed in their votes."
Well, I don't know. Who knows?
I don't know. It's not going to be a happy ending tomorrow. So I'm not hoping for a whole lot. You were talking about Biden earlier, and the Democrats ran this guy saying, he was capable of running, but he's not. But who now is saying that he's capable? Gavin Newsom. He's saying he's still cognizant.
Gavin Newsom.
I know.
He'll do anything for a headline. The guy's a prostitute.
Well, yeah, he is. Well, he's got the hair for it. But, he's sitting there, saying Biden could still run. And then on the other hand, he goes, I hate how politicians lie. It's like he's talking out of both sides of his mouth,
He wants to be in the White House, and he hasn't got a chance. I say that, but I also thought that Joe Biden didn't have a chance. So I'm going to take that back. You get the media behind you, and a lot of people who aren't paying any attention, they'll say, he's such a handsome guy. I love his hair. Oh, my God. These are the same clowns that are voting for this guy in New York.
Yeah, they are. Another question, shutdown. When do you think it's going to end?
I think it'll happen Wednesday. Wednesday or Thursday. Yep. Yeah,
the last shutdown was by Schumer, and it was the longest one. They like to say it was Trump's shutdown, but it was Schumer. And is this one going to beat that one by a day or two?
You know what John Fetterman said?
I'm deeply distressing to know that 42 million Americans are going to lose their SNAP benefits. And now that's one of the big reasons why I refuse to shutting our government down. And again, I feel like the Democrats really need to own the shutdown.
That's a Democrat saying that. Mm-hmm. Of course, he's now on their list. You know what kind of list I'm talking about. He's on their list. The Democrats are now talking about replacing him as a candidate next time around.
I think he can come back as an independent. I don't think he will come back as a Republican, but I think he could come back.
Well, he said his family's filled with Republicans, and most of the people he said he loves voted for Trump.
And he wasn't a Trump supporter, I can tell you that. But the thing that when he changed is, and Trump didn't sit there and have a wizard wand and said, "There you go, John, you're now anointed a Trumpster." He went and met with him. And after the meeting, when you get to see the real Donald Trump, all of a sudden, he's not a bad guy. And that's happened to a lot of people. I think it was Bill Maher, who's still he's still a Democrat. But he's inching over that line to where, he's gone to the right, whether he believes it or not, he has. And it's happened to a lot of people. Rogan is kind of the same way.
Yeah.
Rogan was a Bernie boy.
Hey,
You
listen,
know?
I haven't got anything else. Have you got anything else to add to today's little repertoire of stuff?
Nah, I'll end it with the AOC says that Americans that voted for Trump are fed up with him. They're done with him.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
we're
take
done
it
with
from
you,
AOC. Yes.
Well, you know what though? She's going to be
AOC and Crockett together running. That's jeez.
Sadly, that could happen, because the fact that you got Mandani in New York tells me that, we've got some people that don't have their heads screwed on
The only
straight.
good thing about Mandani is he can't run for president because he's not a naturalized citizen.
But you know what? That could be changed.
Only with a constitutional amendment.
Right. So we got to be careful about who goes into the Congress and the Senate.
Yeah.
Because if we don't protect those, all bets are off. But the United States could make a terrible turn. I wouldn't even call it to the left. This is almost a U-turn that we're making tomorrow in New York. And that's sad. So
I'm
finished. All I got.
I'm finished. If it's all you got and it's all I got, then we ain't got no more.
Well, if we got no more, it's only one thing we can say. Hasta la vista, baby. We're out of here.
Who are we? And why are we here? Will we be welcome or possibly feared? Do we unite and stand tall as a nation of one? Or split and divide or be mocked and shunned? Are our leaders patriotic, honest and true? Do they share our beliefs? Are they red, white, and blue? The truth is out there, you just have to search. Settle for less, you'll be left in the lurch. No left-leaning lies, no socialist swill. It's straight talking truth from your friends Jim and Bill. Are our leaders patriotic, honest and true? Do they share our belief? Are they red, white, and blue? Are our leaders patriotic, honest and true? Do they share our beliefs? Are they red, white, and blue?
Wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee.
Available at rightsideshop.com. All music the property of Jim and Bill. All rights reserved. This is CRN America.